All right, so with our lovely Miss T, we were going to do a little bit with a pattern game. So I know that I had mentioned this for her older sister, Miss P. Ready? So when it comes to working in this new environment, again, without mom and dad nearby, a lot of times the puppies are also trying to work on that resilience and build some comfort and confidence. So there have been a few noises too, like around the building. So Miss Lovely Miss T is a little bit unsure because there were some funny noises coming from my neighbors' sections, and sometimes they do a lot of I don't know, like drilling and funny noises the babes are not always as familiar with. So Miss T is looking a little bit unsure, and I think it's because the noises were what sort of startled her slightly. But we're just trying to get her cozy by doing some simple find its. So remember, at times, I know I mentioned having the ability to stay flexible in your training sort of agenda or plan is going to be really helpful. She's starting to feel a little bit more cozy. She's going and grabbing some of the find its that she had missed earlier. So ready? With Miss T, we might warm up with a couple little check-ins and bouncing back from the environment back onto me. So, but back for the Super Bowls game, I know I had mentioned this for her older sister. So pattern games can be immensely helpful for adolescents. They can be helpful for pretty much any pup. So it doesn't have to be a dog that's struggling with anxiety or difficulties with reactivity or over-arousal. But I find that especially for those beauties that are having those types of struggles, pattern games can be a great way to build resilience and also sort of understanding that the environment could stay consistent with the pattern game, even though other things around them might be going on in the distance. So for Miss T, every time she kind of reorients to me from the environment, I'm just feeding her for this lovely back moment to me from the distractions. So with Miss T, if I were to practice, you can do the Super Bowls game where they're all in a row. You can have them a little bit scattered or staggered like this, where they're not necessarily in the exact same pattern everywhere. What you're looking for is similar to like the up-down game where, let's say she hones in, you'd go yes, and then you'd feed the floor. I know we were doing this a little bit with her older sister. So right there, she forgot to chew that last one. There we go. Sometimes it's better the second time around. Miss Lovely, you got to chew them. She's like, chewing is optional. So let's say Miss T is rocking some nice eyes. I would go yes and feed. So right now, this is just, again, the ping pong. I'm sorry, my brain melted. The up-down game. Ping pong is when she looks at you, you go yes, and you can toss it to the left or the right, which of course that's the left and that's the right. So dyslexia is really fun. But when working with your gorgeous Miss T, remember that sometimes before you go into the groove of whatever you were hoping to master, which could be the new pattern game, the Super Bowls, yes. You might find it can be really helpful to warm up with a few other skills, yes, first. So for her, this up-down game, yes, seems to help her feel much more comfortable, more relaxed, more in the groove to trying these novel things. Whoop, dropped it. So that can be also very helpful for her too. Of course, freebies are always exciting. So right there, yes. So right now I'm just warming up with that up-down game just for a moment. Yes. And so every time Miss Lovely Miss T gives me eyeballs, I'm feeding for that response. Right there, yes. This way can be a great way, nice, yes, to get your gorgeous guys or gals to hone in on you, the handler, while later there might be more distractions. So now, let's say Miss T is doing a really great job honing in on me. I'm going to go ahead and have a couple little tidbits ready. I'm going to go ahead and just start off by plopping the food in the bowl. And she's like, that is disturbing. We haven't tried the bowls yet, so if she thinks it's a little bit scary, we don't have to necessarily use the bowls. I'm going to just toss a few extras in there. We're not playing the game yet. I just want to see if she can feel a little bit more comfortable trying the bowl. There we go. She hasn't worked with the bowls. These are normally the ones we do for pause up or step up, so they're flipped the other way, and then they practice targeting with their front feet onto a raised option. So right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed, yes. So the moment Miss T looks at me, yes. I'm going to feed a little snack into the bowl. So she locks eyes, yes. Then if she's busy eating, I'm going to move a little bit, see if she can reorient to me again. I'm going to wait for those eyes. She's like, I hear funny noises. Right there, yes. So the moment she locks eyes on me, I'm going to feed the target bowl, yes. And you would obviously be able to move around the environment. I want to make it a little bit easier for her. The AC is on, yes. And the problem with the AC rocking is sometimes the environment, yes, makes a lot more noises as the AC pops on and off. So even though it doesn't sound too noisy on the camera, oh, nice, yes, she might still find it more overwhelming than us. So she's not as familiar with the building when it comes to being away from mom and dad, yes. So right now we're just building up easy peasy skills for her. So again, what we're looking for is those eyes, yes, and then we can load a little snack into the bowl. And then when she's busy finding the snack in the bowl, I either sometimes, if she's doing super well, I like to add some movement. And then when I'm waiting, yes, for her to do is go from one little zone where she's busy finding the snack to then reorienting towards the handler, those eyes, yes, and then we plop it in the dish again. So she says, this game's pretty cool. So I like to have a few goodies on me, so that way as she's busy finding the last crumbs, right there, I'm waiting for the eyes, yes, and then we toss a snack. So this could be, if let's say bowls were too spooky, yes. You could instead use flat targets. So for example, there's these little rubber flat targets. I'll have to get the name for them, yes. But people use them for different sports and things like that, yes. So what you could end up doing is do flat targets and do the pattern game, let's say in your driveway or your backyard, or of course in the home to start, right there, yes. So, but the benefit of having something concrete like patterns is that no matter what's going on, yes, in the environment, the pattern games stay the same. So for dogs that are having a hard time struggling with novelty or just coping and being able to function, yes. This can be a great way to build up, like, let's say you start off this in the indoor environment, and then, yes, you build up into using this in your driveway. Yes, or for example, from your inside your home to, let's say, the starting point, yes, outside of the yard. So I know for a lot of beauties, pattern games can bring a lot more comfort than just basics. So again, yes. So the problem with most basic obedience is even though they're great life skills, oh my gosh, chewing, yes. The problem with basic obedience or even like upper level down the road is that if your pup is feeling uncomfortable, it won't really matter for them from their perspective to offer those skills. So pattern games tend to be more dog centric. So they tend to be a little bit easier than working like, let's say, a sit when you're scared or overwhelmed. Two, remember sometimes using stationary positions or your basic obedience, remember that a dog that's struggling doesn't need more obedience. They need more compassion or understanding as to why they're struggling. Yes. And then go from that moment of understanding where they're coming from. Yes. As a species to then set them up for greater success. Yes. In our weird human world. So if at times Miss T, yes, is struggling, I want to make sure that what we're working on doesn't all of a sudden create more of a negative association, yes, with that cue or skill, or for example, ruin your food as well. Yes, because we can then tarnish or almost poison a cue or a skill. Nice job. And then that way your babe might start to think, gee, every time we've done this, here came the scary thing. Or every time they lured me, we went into the tub of doom. So there may be moments, good job, cuteness, where your puppy starts to associate sometimes a certain body position or a certain skill set with the impeding doom that we may have been trying to change their feelings around, but now instead because we tried this and then here came the bad, the bringer of the good now started to be the precursor to the yucky stuff coming. So we do want to practice about 80 to 90% of this with no distractions, no difficulties, no triggers. And then as they're getting much more fluid, then include a couple little distractions, be it normal, happy-go-lucky distractions, not always the thing that overwhelms them. Nice job. So right now I'm just doing some find its with some nice orientation to me. I'm not working some of the pattern games right now. But I would like to give her a little breather. She's like, oh, that's too far away. So if, let's say, she ever has a hard time going for a find it because maybe she's feeling tired, she's maybe a little overwhelmed, there's a lot of factors that can go into behavior. But if, let's say, she'd rather hone in on me and feed directly, that's an option too. But I would always just try to break down the criteria where it's attainable and it's not too hard for her. And that way you start to see little glimmers where things start to come together and become more almost like predictable from both ends. But Miss T did a very good job with her pattern game, the Super Bowls. We'll give her a little break from this and we'll work a few other skills in just a second. But nice job, Miss T.